normally I had planned this where I was going to start with questions like about the plot of the book, but since I'm talking about how I stayed up all night to read it, I feel like I have to ask like one writer to another a craft question selfishly, which is all three of the books are so thrilling. Like they're actual page turners. I literally can't put them down, as we've established. So, how do you approach plotting the scene progression and like where you include plot twists and so on to maintain that breakneck pace throughout?
So I don't know what kind of writer you are, Victoria. I'm always horrified when I talk to pantsers because I'm like, no, I can't get out of my life. You're too chaotic. Yeah, I did just say I was chaotic, but actually I'm not. I'm quite organized. I lied. But hold on, I'm at my desk. I'm going to see if I can find.
You have props.
I've got props, but I didn't intend to. So essentially, I start with like writing out ideas on notebooks, just kind of like splurging ideas, and that process will take a while with researching. And then I try and like accumulate everything onto a Word document, and then I get these bad boys out. Do you see these?
Oh, not the index cards.
Index cards, although I've got various sizes here, but I just write out basically kind of scene or chapter on each one, and like there'll be a vague structure that you know will have to happen, but then I do like this it's my favorite day ever, and I'm about to do it for my next book, where I just lay all the cards out on the floor and I feel like I'm in a movie. I'm like, hold on, that scene must go over there, no, that must go over there, and I just kind of run it through, spend the day like fiddling them around, and then once I've decided, I'm like, okay, that's it, it's in concrete now, I can't change it. Although one time I did switch two cards around in the middle of writing, but don't tell anyone that because that's shameful. But once it's kind of laid out in my sacred index cards, that's it. And then I have to do the writing part, and I hate that part. I wish someone else could do that part for me.
You can do
Essentially,
like the index cards and you can do the revisions and you can make the royalties, but somebody
no,
else.
not revisions. There's
Oh,
really very little of the work that I enjoy. I like planning, research, plotting, and then the rest of it, no, 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 no.
that's
So
so
it'd be perfect if you loved writing and revisions, and then we could combine.
nobody likes revisions. I would
Oh,
say writing, but like you're gonna have to find
you're
some.
not useful to me then. I'll find another author to merge with.
Well, I see Farida's in the chat, so maybe she would do it for you. Okay, so this one's like a little bit. Actually, no, I am going to ask another question that's somewhat about craft, somewhat about plot, which is so the ending of honestly both the last two books were just absolutely devastating to read. Sometimes like the easy ending isn't the best one. So without spoiling the last book, how did you know that an imperfect ending was right for Pip and Co?
Well, so when I was writing the second book, so the first book happened and it was meant to be a standalone, and I didn't know I was doing sequels. But then when I was writing the second book, I did know I was doing a third book. So I kind of planned the two of them kind of in tandem. So a lot of the second book is just setting up where I needed to get to for the third book. Sorry, Good Girl Bad Blood. I was just disparaging you there. You're a good book in your own right, but you really were just to get me to the third book. But I don't know, these books are like, they try and have like this true crime vibe. I mean, obviously there's a lot of murders that go on in this one small town, but it happens. Crazier stuff happens in real life. But given that it kind of had this semblance of being like true to real life, like it wasn't a highly stylized type thing. It's not like a Nancy Drewish thing. Like Pip is affected by the kind of violence and the crimes that she's seen. I always knew that I wasn't going to have like a really, really squeaky happy ending because it would kind of be impossible. But it did take me a while to come up with the ending because I was like, I don't want it to be happy. I don't want it to be horribly devastating. I want it to like hover somewhere. And I don't know, then I just decided it. Sometimes when I'm like walking my dog, I'll like come up with the end scene, and even if it doesn't quite fit, I'm like, that's it, I can't be bothered to think about it anymore, that's it, I'm going to write the entire book to fit that. And so I did have like this image before I even knew the plot, so then I kind of worked back. I was like, oh, how do I get there? But I've seen, because the book's been out for like 6 weeks in the UK already, some people are not happy with me for the ending.
Oh, really?
But that's fine. I thought it would be a bit, oh wait, do you understand this reference? If I say something's quite Marmite.
Yes, I have had Marmite. I'm on the side of I despise Marmite.
Oh no, Victoria,
I messed up the
you're
first
eating it
time.
right. You don't eat like a spoonful, do you? It's a very delicate touch.
I did. So my friend sent some to me, my English friend, because I was depressed, and she was like, "Well," and like I was
Marmite.
numb, and she's like, "You'll feel something about Marmite, like you'll love it." And so like me and my dad both tried it, and I didn't have a whole spoonful, but I did have like.
No, you're doing it wrong. That's why. You needed a bit of toast, loads of butter on it, and then just like a smidge, and you like smear it in.
I'll have to
I'll
try.
have to invite you over and make some Marmite for you.
I know.
Like,
I think I need to give it a second go because, like, surely I was sitting there like with my head under the sink, like drinking water. I'm like, surely nobody actually eats this. So
I think you definitely didn't do it right. If you're in that much pain, it's delicate. How did we get onto this topic? Oh yes, Marmite. So in England, you call something like a Marmite if lots of people are either going to love it or hate it, as we have demonstrated here. Victoria had her face under the sink drinking water, whereas I freaking love Marmite. But yes, the ending, you might like it or you might very much not. But I am pleased with it, and that's all that matters.
I also liked it. I liked it a lot more than I like Marmite. So
Oh, well, there you go then.
the stamp of approval for what it means that I liked it more than I like Marmite, of course.
You're on the right side of history this time.
This time, okay. All right, I really will have to try Marmite again. And if I hate it this time the proper way, then we will have words.
Yeah, at least give it a proper shot. You don't just eat it out of the. So American. I'm not the expert in translating because I write these books. Sorry, I'm really going off piste here. I write the books in like my native tongue, UK English, and then I had to like translate them. I mean, it's not a full translation, but sometimes it feels like it. There's been various times where my editor's like, I don't understand what you're saying. And I'm like, I don't understand what you're saying. How can we be speaking the same language?
That's actually, you're stealing one of the questions that I had. So I'm gonna
sorry. Pretend I didn't say any of that. Victoria, please go on ahead.
Leading into it, so it's perfect. It's as if we planned this together.
Yeah, a smooth segue.
Mm-hmm. So going right into the UK versus US question. So originally it was set in the UK, right?
Yeah.
And like written with the UK audience in mind, and then you adapted it to be set in Connecticut. So like, what was that process like? How did you do your research to make it so believable to American readers?
So for I don't know if it is that believable. The first one, I feel like I've seen reviews being like, there's still a lot of British in this, but like I wasn't that in charge of Americanizing this one. Well, I kind of was. My editor at the time said, where do you want it set? And I said, well, being lazy, somewhere that's similar-ish as possible to like South England, so like similar weather. So I said, I think like New England area, right? That's similar-ish weather. I mean, I think Connecticut gets a lot more crazy snowstorms or something, but similar-ish. So I didn't have to change all the descriptions. And also because in the UK version, it's like a commuter town into London. So I was like, I need it to be like a commuter town into like a big city nearby. So then I think my editor at the time said, what about Connecticut? And I was like, yes. And then I discovered that Connecticut is spelled really weirdly. There's like a hidden C that you don't know is in there. So it's actually Connecticut. Once I saw that, I was like, well, we have to go for that. So then, to be honest, it's not really like quite a lot of it translates without my input. There's just a few times where people would use like really English expressions like plonker. You don't get plonkers in Connecticut. And then my favorite translation thing that I made sure I was very careful with in As Good as Dead is the fact that in England, if you're in a restaurant, even if it's a nice restaurant, you would say, oh, okay, I'm just going to the toilet. It doesn't mean, I'm not referring to like the porcelain item where you do your business. We refer to like the room that contains a toilet as the toilet. But in America, you don't. It's a bathroom or a restroom. And if I say I'm going to the toilet, you think I'm physically saying I'm going to go sit on that porcelain white item and do my business. And I think actually my editor took me out for lunch in New York, and I'm pretty sure at one point I would have said, I'm just going to the toilet. They probably, after I left the table, they were probably like, oh my God. So I made sure every time, because actually toilets do come up quite a lot in As Good as Dead. There's a bit of intrigue for you.